All right, welcome to the OFX podcast. I'm your host, Dave Claxton. Along with me, as always, is your Big Apple boycotter, Bethany McChesney. It works because you didn't go. And yeah. So okay, we got. Where do you want to start? Because we had a list here, and we got some stuff to talk about. No guests this week. We're just doing our thing here.
Mhm.
Um, what do you want to talk about to start with?
Well, maybe we'll talk about your weekend then. Speaking of the Big Apple, I
Oh
didn't
God. Okay.
boycott it. I just did not go.
Bethany said she was not going, and she was right to do so. No. All right, look. Okay, so first up, before I go through this, there's a lot to unpack here, like a real lot. And the first thing I want to do is say that like I do not blame athletes. They're doing what they're doing. For the most part, I don't even blame the volunteers. I don't, I think that this is a organizational problem that happened at this event. And I like I said, I love Hyrox. I really do. And I've got a lot of stuff I didn't like about this event, but it doesn't deter me from the way I feel about it. It's just I think that this one went astray. Do you want the good or the bad to start with?
So let's start with the good.
Oh, you want to start with
Because
the good?
I will say, leading up to this event, the venue looked super cool. So I was having a bit of FOMO because I was thinking, I love the idea of an outdoor high rocks, provided the weather is
Mhm.
good. Like I think that would be super fun. Being on the water in New York, like that, it looked really cool.
So aesthetically, it was very, very flashy looking, it was classic High Rocks, where High Rocks, they really focus, and admittedly so, focus on these aesthetics and the atmosphere and all that stuff. And it did look cool. Um, Personally, for me, during the run, I didn't notice it at all. Right? Like that's just me. I don't, and I'm guilty of that doing OCR where everybody's like, "Oh my God, this was a beautiful venue." When I'm running, I don't notice jack shit. I don't see any of it. They're like, "Oh, this was gorgeous view," and I'm like, I didn't. There was a view. I have no idea. It's
Yeah.
just who I am. It doesn't appeal to me. It doesn't matter to me. But yeah, the pictures were great. The venue looked really, really cool. And that was one of my positives. That was one of the things I had down as a
Mhm.
positive. It looked great. And I could see why a lot of people are drawn to that. Personally for me, not so much, but I could definitely understand, and I think it worked. I mean, Hyrox did it because of that, and it had, I think it was somewhere around close to 5,000 people.
Yeah, so I heard 5,500 people.
Yeah, and it was slammed. Like you were body to body of people in there. And I mean, that kind of goes to one of my negatives is the venue was too small for the amount of people that they had.
Mm.
Like it just, I think they should have cut the entry shorter. They should have had to sell out earlier. It was just too busy in that area.
I did see a clip of some burpee broad jumps where people were having to wait, and there wasn't really a way around people. And it would have been in an open wave. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, it looked very congested.
It was very congested, very congested. I know you wanted to start with the good, but I just don't think that's going to work.
Okay.
All right. So I got to go with the first thing. And I did say this earlier today on live podcast. So there's no backing out. It was the worst judging of any event I've ever seen.
That's fair. I've seen some videos and I there's some stuff that was awful from
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
perspective.
And it was so bad. Like we walked in and we were very excited. And we kind of roll over and inspect the whole area. And we go over the wall balls and we see like almost nobody going to depth. And the judge is just counting away. And for the most part, there were some that were pretty bad and some that were just close. And then there was, some that were just egregious. But so that was our first thing. And we're like, oh man, that hurts to see that.
Hmm.
And this is really, we went over to the burpee broad jumps and it was not busy at the burpee broad jumps at this time. Right. And we saw the head judge there and we saw a guy doing burpees and he's bringing his hands down like more than 2 feet in front of his feet. So more than 24 inches in front of his feet, which is double the distance you should be allowed to do.
Hmm.
and then doing his burpee broad jumps. And we all kind of go, judge, 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 look, 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 look. Maybe we think the judge doesn't see it. The judge looks at us, looks over, watches the guy do a couple, looks back and just gives us a nod. And we're like, does he not know or does he not care or what's the issue? Like we couldn't
Yeah.
figure it out. And we were hoping that this was just kind of a thing, but as the day went on, it just honestly got worse. I was doing my sled pulls and I'm back right near the line and I notice, oh, I almost stepped on the line. And then I look around to see if a judge is going to say anything, and there's nobody there.
Oh.
Like I could have just done whatever I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much from our own race, that was my experience through the whole thing, including the wall balls. I called my own no rep because I missed the target, and I said, "Oh, that's a bad one." And I don't think they were going to call it or not. I don't know. I'm hoping I got to depth, but I couldn't see. Rye says that I did on all my wall balls, but I couldn't tell. So, from what I was seeing, the judges weren't calling any of it. So I just it was really bad. I mean, I don't. Do you want to? Should I show like some of the videos that I sent you?
Yeah, well, I mean, the one wall ball that from it was a female. I mean, I've never seen. It's not even like, oh, judges error on whether it's a depth or not. There was no squat. It was like doing a push press
That's
with,
exactly what I said. Like a push press.
yeah, like not even attempting to squat.
And this
And
was, yeah.
like, yeah, I don't know, like I don't know why even for her, like why she would even do that. Like to not even understand like the wall ball standards. Like I understand people being close but not far enough and
Yep.
just not getting it, but like it was not even a remote squat.
And if I was, we went there and we went just like, hey, let's try to PR our time, but we did not care about where we positioned. It was not a concern whatsoever. But if I was worried about that and wanted to win and get a podium or whatever, I would have been furious at this event because it's like if I'm doing stuff right, but clearly nobody else or not everybody else is being held to that standard that I'm, I guess, self-imposing
Yeah.
because it's the rules. And it was, I would have been really, really pissed off. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think with this event, thankfully, we did not have fast times because of conditions and the heat. So we're not seeing people that are at the top that were running these blazing times because they could get away with things. So that's kind of a saving grace, I suppose, with this event.
Yeah. However, there was age group spots on the line. A
Hmm.
lot of people are really pulling for those age group spots. And then, they could have gone to somebody who did not deserve them because they did a push press or they did a flying burpee or whatever. They stepped over the lines. Like they could have not followed the rules and gotten that bonus spot. And these spots are not easy to get,
Yeah.
right? So it's very frustrating from a competitive standpoint. And that really bothers me. Like that, I mean, this is a thing that bothers me all the time. But to be at this one and see just how bad it was very annoying. And I hate to do it when there's been we've had so much love for Hyrox here lately and getting ready for the Toronto Hyrox and have such high hopes on what a great event it'll be. And just watching this it just gutted me. I really, really felt bad.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and this was the highest attendance number that we've ever had in North America.
yes.
So again, we're setting a precedent.
Mhm.
So we have, these 5,000 plus people that have been at this event and a lot of the people this was their first one and are they leaving Hyrox thinking they don't really care about the standards. So again, the integrity of the sport um is on the line when we're not held to standard across the board, open age groups, elite, it has to be the same. And yeah, some of the videos that I saw from this weekend were really it breaks my heart because again, we love this sport and we want to see it held to a high standard because that's what we think Hyrox is in that direction with having lasers and the counters for wall balls so that it's easier for the judges and it's just at this point in the game, it feels a little bit odd that they would let this happen. So it makes me wonder why were was there issues with judges shortage and they kind of were pulling people in that didn't really know. Um, Yeah, I don't know. It's a little bit shocking that it was so bad across the board and not just, one judge at wall balls who didn't really know what they were doing. So I
Yeah,
don't
and
know.
that's what I kind of hope, but no, it was across the board. It was just, and I don't know I don't know who's at fault. Is this and probably like anything, it's a case of really a bit of everybody's at fault.
Yeah,
Like
like maybe there wasn't proper like explanation to the judges.
yeah, yeah.
But again, I'm wondering who judges that doesn't know movement standards,
Well, and who assigns somebody to judge that doesn't know movement standards? Like
especially
that's
something like wall balls and burpees. Put them on roars and ski ergs.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And really, realistically, sled push, that's very easy to judge and stuff like that. Like things like that. But wow, it really, really started the weekend off on a bad note for me.
Yeah.
And that was yeah, well, so Rye says for two. But so I mean that was rough. When you say the venue looked great, and again it did. However, there was zero shade anywhere to escape the heat. So you were just out there in the area, and they also had troubles with keeping up with water. They ran out of water. Um, when you were running on the track, the water station was Red Bull, not water.
Oh, there was no water.
Like so, there was water in the rock zone, but on the run, they were giving it Red Bull.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, I don't want Red Bull when I'm running. Like, like anyway, so I mean,
Yeah.
those are a little bit smaller things. Parking, typical New York. I mean, you paid a fortune. You had to walk a long way. There was no event venue parking.
Oh,
No, none. So yeah, you parked and you ran a long way. So for example, for the day, cost me 80 some odd dollars Canadian to park for the day. So I mean, that's a big chunk. And I was more than half a mile away.
mm,
So there was that. And this just goes to picking some of these really cool, stylish venues that look
yeah.
great, but logistically and from a reality standpoint aren't good.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, we've talked too about some obstacle course races where the venue is so far from
Mhm.
air where you're having to drive and rent cars and all of these things add up. So it makes it a much more costly race weekend and logistically difficult. And
Yeah.
yeah, those things they do factor in.
Yeah. The what was it? The bathroom situation. So they had porta potties, which is understandable. You're at an outdoor venue. This is what we expect. We're from OCR. We're used to this.
Yeah.
That's nothing. And they had a good amount of them, but they were outside of the running area. They were outside of the course. So you had to cross the course to get to the bathrooms or cross back into the course to get to the warm-up area or to the start line or pretty much to anything else other than the bathrooms. Crossing the course at times took upwards of 30, 35, 40 minutes to get across.
What?
Yeah. Am I exaggerating? Like, so if you were in the warm-up area a half hour before your race and you're like, you know what, I got to take my pre-race pee, you don't have time.
Oh boy.
And yeah, the crossing was chaotic. And they actually had, and here's the thing, they actually had a decent system for it, but nobody would listen. Everybody was just trying to do their own thing and find their way across and barge their way across. And it was so, I mean, that was part of the problem was the people themselves. But the other part was again goes to venue was not big enough for that amount of people, right?
Hmm.
And there was only one spot to cross.
Oh,
So everybody had to funnel through spectators, athletes, everybody. And it was chaotic. So yeah, it was yeah, if you needed to take your pre-race pee or crap an hour before, and if you didn't get it out then, deal with it.
oh boy.
Yeah. So that was very big. And the bathrooms kept running out of toilet paper and they just seemed unprepared for this amount of people, which is surprising because they knew how many people they were getting.
Yeah.
So that was a big one. Oh, what else? Gear check lines were insane. Like our buddy waited almost 40 minutes for his bag to get claimed. Um,
Oh Wow.
And that was not 40 minutes in line. That was once they got to him. So I don't know what system they were using, but it was just, yeah. And that's the other thing too. So if you wanted to, um, carry your bag around to the last minute before you're getting ready, say you got some warm-up bands in it or some hydration or your pre-race, whatever. Nope. Because you would have had to take the 30 minutes to cross and then wait in the line for like 30 to 40 minutes and then try to take another whatever 30 minutes to get back across. So,
Oh boy.
and there was no water in the warm-up area. So the only spot you really could get water handily was actually in the rock zone. If I'm not mistaken, I didn't see anywhere else where you could just get a water like during the race. Yeah.
Wow.
And
So
go ahead.
was the was the overall mood of athletes frustration?
It was getting so, yeah. Yeah. Like a lot of people were like, "Oh, this is very cool." And then as the day wore on, it's like, "Okay, this is the shine is coming off."
Hmm.
Right. And I talked to a lot of people who were just like, and you can see it in some of the comments on some of the posts, like, this was a shit show. This was that, this was that. But, and then some people are just like, "Oh, great venue. Awesome." And like, no, it
Yeah.
was great pictures, but it wasn't a great venue.
Hmm.
Um, what else was big on our list? Yeah. And we talked about the wall balls and maybe we'll show the video later and we won't, but like literally we saw a video of a guy who they put the bucket out for him and then he was still squatting 8 inches above the bucket and they were counting those reps. So I don't know what was going on with the judging. I really can't. Honestly is beyond description
Hmm.
to the level of it was. And I'm sorry to say that. It really, really makes me sad. Um, the water station's venue's too small. Small complaint, merch prices. There was like no prices on anything at merch. So you had to bring it up top to find out what it was. I hate that. That's just, I don't understand that. Just,
Yeah, I think it was like that at the last one we were at in Chicago.
yeah. So here's the thing. They brought in like, or in the warm-up area too, there was no mats for everybody, right? You're just on the flat pavement on the ground. And like you're all sweaty because it's really hot, and then like rocks are stuck all over to you if you're stretching and everything. And it just there was no mats for anyone to do. Well, there was like one tiny little mat where they had the kettlebells on that you could maybe do one or two lunges on, and that was it. Not I mean up and down, not walking lunges. There was no room for that.
Hmm.
They did have a few good warm-up bikes and some skiers and some rowers, so that was good. Um, what else? Oh my God. There was just so many. Oh, this one got to us. So you know the big screen that counts your laps and stuff?
Yeah.
So that's cool. That's always a great thing to have. But there were so many people that when you looked up to see your name and then looked across the screen to see what you were supposed to be doing, it had already moved down 3 spots. So you look and it's like it just was too far apart. So it's like
Mhm.
crazy. But the other part about that was right where the screen was, where you'd be looking up right after you cross the timing mat, they put like a little a little 2 inch high wire cable protector so you would trip on it as soon as you'd look up to do the thing. And it was like just these things that matter, but
Yeah.
you gotta think of. Yeah, the place smelled like pot a lot of the times. I don't know. It's like an outdoor venue. It is what it is. Um, oh, and this got to me. Okay. Um, Lance Armstrong. Okay.
Yeah.
He was there. He did his run. And great. And they made a big deal about it, Lance running, and they pretty much commented his whole race, and he won his age group. And I'm like, this is some serious ass revisionist history. Why are we celebrating a guy who is known as one of the world's biggest cheaters, the most notorious doping athlete, a week or two after you've said, hey, we're going to test at our event to make sure no one's doping?
Isn't it ironic?
It's like, what the, like, cool, let the guy run, whatever, like, great, but you're going to
Yeah, I
celebrate it
think
like
his celebrity outshone his reputation.
it's sad. It's so sad.
Yeah.
It just bothers me. I'm like, it just screams hypocrisy, you know? Like, and I get it, but I don't agree with it. It bothers me. Um, the venue being the way it was and the difficulty crossing actually made it difficult for medical to get to some people when they were needed because there was a lot of problems with heat and stuff. But because it was so difficult to cross, I'm sure that they were slow getting there. I've heard stories. Like I'll read one of the posts I got earlier and I screenshotted it to you, or else I screenshotted it. So we'll look at it here. Do. All right. It took too long for medical care. What's the point of an emergency contact if they don't use it? I had to use my Apple Watch to try to find my friend's husband's through my boyfriend. They were asking me questions for my friend that I didn't know the answer to for medical. So they didn't use any emergency contact for that. Shit show ran out of water during the race, and people were not doing full workouts in the rock zone. Judges weren't calling anything, just stuff. So, I mean, and it was, like I said, difficult for medical to get, which is a big thing. That's not just nitpicking about prices on shirts and stuff. That's
Yeah, so now we're talking like a health and safety issue. So maybe the biggest lesson here is that they overfilled a spot that should not have had that many people.
yes.
And again, we're talking Manhattan, so it's not like there's room to spread out. Like it is tight quarters, so maybe just keeping, and I mean, 5,500 people is a lot for any venue.
Mhm.
So yeah, maybe. But like, how do they work it in places like London, England, where they're having 12,000 people? Is that
Well,
over 2 days?
usually, yes, it's over 2 days, sometimes three.
And then it must be a bigger venue.
And apparently it's often a shit show there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, just but shit show is one thing, but when it's the unsafe stuff, that's another. And
Yeah.
so my biggest qualms would be the unsafe part about medical getting to people, and just the judging just totally killed it for me. The heat is the heat, right? You plan an outdoor event, it is what it is. You sign up for an outdoor event, you get what you get. I don't see why Hyrox wants to do it other than the visuals, because this event was not only was it outdoor, but it was under a giant steel structure, like
Yeah.
giant steel I-beams essentially. So if they had had rain or lightning of any kind, the entire thing would be kiboshed.
Hmm.
And I don't understand why you'd want to run the risk just for some good pictures and some good visuals of the whole event getting smashed. It
For
doesn't
that
make sense.
many people. I don't know why more people don't plan on carrying their own water in the race.
Yeah, yeah,
Like if we were doing an outdoor, like a half marathon on the roads,
yeah.
you'd see a lot more people carrying their own hydration. But I don't know why in Hyrox we don't see this enough. So we rely so much too on hydration stations. So why are people not considering the factors of like carrying it with you?
I think the only reason my guess would be, and the reason I never considered is because they say we have water stations here and there. And because you're looping that water station so many times, it's not like OCR where we have a 10K trail and we've got two water stations. This is you're going to see
Yeah,
that water station like 8 times, right? And if they got one in the rock zone
yeah,
and one on the run, you're going to see those
yeah,
16 times over. So, so yeah, like, I would say that's probably why.
yeah. I mean, it might be a lesson well learned though for Hyrox.
Yeah. Yeah. And for the people too, right? Like maybe we shouldn't depend on that. Um, but I don't understand why you build this great indoor event and then keep trying to shove it outside.
That's true because that was one of Hyrox's like shticks at the beginning was it was the sport that we do in the off season and we can do it in the winter because it's
Yeah.
indoor and we've seen a lot of outdoor events lately.
Yeah.
Like the one at the airport.
Hmm.
That was also like visually very cool.
And
Um
that's what they want.
yeah, but more of a logistical nightmare for sure, especially if there's bad weather.
Yeah. And I get like to say I understand they're visually cool. They want to sell it. They want to sell it. But I want a good sport.
Mhm.
And this does not help. And that's what I saw from this event was this, it seemed to me more people commented, "Oh, what an awesome venue," that weren't there
Mhm.
because it looked so cool. But
Yeah.
in reality, it just wasn't. And it just it just made such a rough week. It did. Now, luckily, we do what we do, and we have a good time no matter what, and we pull through. But it could have been, I don't know, if it was just in a nice convention center and a good layout. To me, it would have been so much better,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And then just New York for me was not a great experience.
New York can be stressful.
Just the driving sucks in New York, and I like to drive, and the driving sucks in New York. Um, the parking is what it is. We did go on a long walk after to go find New York pizza, and we did find some good New York pizza at John's. I don't know, it was like John's Legendary Pizza, very big, great place, and we had some good pizza. But then on the way back, some guy got tackled and arrested behind me as we're walking home, walking back to the car. I mean, it was just, oh, and garbage everywhere. We went up one street and we couldn't walk up the sidewalk because the garbage was all the way, bags all the way across the street. And it just, I know it's the city, and some city, like every city has these places, but it's just, I guess I just don't, it doesn't, I don't get it. It doesn't hit me. Some people love it, love going to see these cities, and it just doesn't work for me. I
Yeah.
guess I'm more practical and less visual.
Hmm.
So, yeah, those were the major things I think that we had. That was most of the list. I think, oh, I heard the early check-in was a shit show as well. That was the night before. Yeah, I think we got most of the things. All in all, yeah, yeah. You want to hear the
So
good stuff?
that was a lot.
That was a lot.
Yeah.
And I know, and I'm probably going to get totally kiboshed by Hyrox now. They probably will not want me to judge for them. It is what
Well,
it
they
is.
do, and that's the thing too, is we say these things because we want to help
Yeah,
them and like
yeah.
feedback's sake and
I don't want to. I don't want people to be discouraged from trying a Hyrox, because I think this was an anomaly, and I think
Mhm.
this is something that they will learn for. And one thing I do find with Hyrox is they generally try to keep improving.
Yeah,
They keep trying to put a better foot forward, and so I believe that they will, and I hope that they take some of the criticisms that people have of this event and learn from it. Take the good and learn that, okay, that's good things, and take the bad and go in a different direction.
yeah,
Um, hopefully they don't think I'm being too much of a dick, because I'm really not trying to be. I'm just stating the facts, and it's just the way it was.
yeah.
So
Things to consider for sure in the future. Yeah.
so on to some good stuff. Okay.
Hmm.
First off is this. You can read my shirt.
I ran 1/10 of a mile.
Yes. So it's true. I did. So one, the vendors and the sponsors that were there were fantastic. They were awesome. Great setups, tons of stuff. So this particular one, I got this shirt. They had set up Go Brewing, which is a non-alcoholic beer company, was set up, and they had their beer mile-ish challenge. So what happens is they had a self-propelled treadmill. You had to chug a very, very cold beer and then run 160 meters on
Uh-huh.
the self-propelled treadmill. And then you got your time, and then they multiplied it, and they came up with a score for what your beer mile would be. Anyway, so anyone who did it got their name on the leaderboard, got a free t-shirt, got a couple of free beers, great promotion. And by the way, very good non-alcoholic beer. And they also had like hop water, which was like a carbonated non-alcoholic water with a bit of a hoppy taste to it,
Yeah.
which was, Riley was adamant about, was delicious.
Hmm.
Yeah, she had four on the day. By the way, that was a spot you could get water. Was from
You
Go
like
Brewing.
water.
Yeah, it was carbonated. So very impressed with them. Go Brewing. Check them out. Definitely work. Oh, and they even got these awesome stickers. Right, here it is. Yeah, this one. Wait. There. 0.01. Oh, 0.1. Like, you get the 70.1s for triathlons.
Yeah.
You got those stickers too. So great promotion. Other one, Powerlift was there, was amazing as always. They had like back at 7-Eleven when you were a kid, and they had like the Slurpee machines.
Yeah.
They just had lines of those where you could just draft your own powerlifting
Oh,
workout.
that's
And
cool.
it was fantastic. They also had um, stretching area for afterwards. They had compression leg pants and tons of ice baths you could just jump in. And I mean, these were filled with ice, like massively filled with ice. In fact, we should have scooped water out of those for drinking. But
Ew.
but they were filled with that power lift, had a great setup, fantastic setup. They went all out and did a great job. Um, what else was there? Protein shakes from Gainful. Really good protein shakes. Again, just giving away shaker bottles and protein shakes for everybody and mixing to your specifications of what you'd like, what kind of protein you'd like, what kind of flavor, and they'd mix it up for you and give you a shaker bottle full of it. So really well done there. Good food choices in there. I had a Nathan's hot dog truck in there. And then they had some like looked like I didn't really get a good look at it, but I can't remember the name of the company, but it was almost like a little more kind of a healthy, almost Factor was the name, like a healthy like bowl food, and then it looked really good. So that was really great. The center equipment, I really liked the new equipment.
Hmm.
It was solid. It was quality stuff. The sleds felt really good. Oh, that's something I didn't mention. So sled turf. I thought when we went, so we went and I tried the sleds in the warm-up area and they flew like unbelievable. Like I was pulling the pro men's weight, walking backwards while doing hand over hand. They
Hmm.
were cruising. Yeah, Riley was able to pull the men's pro weight sled. So, I mean, whether you think that's good or bad or not, I don't know, but the equipment was solid and this they got this supposedly specially designed turf specifically for the event. So it was turf, it wasn't carpet. And I was
Yeah.
even able to use my Ultra Vanish carbon shoes, which notoriously have terrible grip, and I could push with them no problem. So that was great. Now, sadly, I have heard since people say that it deteriorated throughout the day, and by the time the pro men went, it was ridiculously hard to push.
Oh.
So, I mean, that was kind of what I just heard earlier, and I'm like, oh, that's too bad because I was really quite impressed with the turf. Uh,
Do you think it got sticky from the heat?
yeah, it's quite possible. Yeah, and it was black too, so that made it even hotter, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, from the bad list too. The carpets and stuff for burpee broad jumps and lunges and everything was all black, so it got really hot. So that maybe, I know black and white is their color scheme, and I get it, but might have been an idea that yeah,
Yeah.
indoors would have been fine. Would have been great indoors. I don't know if I mentioned that. What else is good? Such a center equipment. MVP to Volunteer Keith. So Volunteer Keith was the dude with the hose. And as you ran by on the outside, or as you ran by to get water from the water station in the rock zone, he would spray you with the hose. And many people loved Keith.
Oh,
Keith.
you probably saved some people from heat stroke.
Keith was a very popular man that day because he was keeping a lot of people alive. So yeah, those were my big good points. And as far as Ryan and I during the race and stuff, like we had a good experience, right? Heat being heat, whatever, it is what it is. Um, but we set a PR by a minute. Probably inside we might have done better because we would have we would have been not quite so hampered with heat. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was good. It just I think I said I had to call my own wall ball, no rep, but the stations, the layout was good, the course was good. We made one mistake in the rock zone, but that was on us. That wasn't any problem with anything else. We knew ahead of time. We just kind of went the wrong way, just for a brief second. Luckily, we didn't get any penalties. We didn't go in or out anything. We just kind of whoop, nope, nope, this way. Um, yeah. So that was it. I had a great hotel in New Jersey.
Oh, you stayed in New Jersey.
Yeah. Well, it was substantially cheaper.
Yeah.
It was substantially cheaper. We had a big closet that Isaac could have stayed in. Um, like like literally we had a two-bedroom hotel room with a common kitchen slash living room area, and it was way cheaper. Two
Yeah.
bathrooms, each bedroom had its own ensuite bathroom, and it was probably half the price of what we would got for half the room in New York, and it took 30 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's no big deal.
So yeah, so it was definitely worth it. Yeah, I would have loved to have loved this, but I'll tell you the truth, I cannot see myself doing another outdoor event for Hyrox. And I probably won't go back to New York, just personal preference.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
but I hope, yeah, I hope that they get them. I know they're going to continue to do these things. They did the one in Miami and it was what it was and got a lot of flack. And then they tried one in New York and it got rained out and they had to go inside in some crazy course. And this one is getting, mixed reviews at best. So,
Well, and I think it's one of the things that I love about hybrid racing is there's so many controllable factors being an indoor event. You
mm,
don't have to think about, well, if it's this weather, I'll wear this, and you're
mhm.
bringing five different outfits depending on the weather. It's just, it is what it is when it's indoors. But then trying to do these events outdoors, you bring in all these extra factors then, which again, some of the reasons people love Hyrox and Deca as well is the controllable factor. So I don't know, these, although it's very spectator cool when we're running in and out or they're fully outdoors, yeah, it might just be bringing in, especially when you're talking about 5,000 people, just too many variables to contend with when you have extreme weather, heat, rain, storms.
And I started to think about this and I started to question myself and I was asking myself, why are you bothered by this? But RX1 can be outside and you're okay with it. The reason being, one of the big reasons is one, RX1 has been designed to be outside the whole time. That's always been their focus, right? And number two, in RX1, you can bring a tent, you can set it up, you can have an area. The bathrooms are very accessible, all stuff
Well,
like that.
I think the biggest thing with the difference is RX1 is we're talking 500 people
Yes,
versus 5,000.
exactly.
So you could even have your friend providing you water the whole time during
Yes.
RX1 in where heats of 12 people. So we're not crammed, the water isn't an issue, the bathrooms are right there. All of those variables with the outdoor situations is not there when you're talking a couple hundred.
So if anybody's judging me for, hey, that one's outdoor, no, I don't, you like this one outdoor, hey, like I did think about it. There is reasons why it is. And same with OCR. I mean, OCR was designed to be outdoors. We have expectations of what it's going to be,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and I mean, we love outdoor events too.
Yeah, I
Like the
do.
variables in that are fine when they're manageable and expected.
If you would put this event in a bigger area with accessible bathrooms, right? And stuff like that, then all I would have bitched about was judging.
Hmm. Right.
Right? And
Yeah.
and you know what? I'm going to continue to bitch about judging until it's better.
Uh-huh.
And that's I think that's my role in life. I need to do this. Because if we don't, it doesn't ever change. It won't. If nobody complains about it or brings it to attention, it will not change.
Yeah.
Purveyor of unsolicited opinions. It's like day one.
Well, we want this sport to be a legitimate sport, and unless we have standards, then it won't be.
Yeah. Yeah. And it needs to, yeah, what was there was just not, it was just not acceptable. And again, I'm not sure who to blame or whose fault it is. It's probably a combination of everybody's, but it needs to be better. That's
Mm.
just it. It needs to be better. However they do it, it needs to be better. And I'm positive it will be.
Yeah.
You
We'll
know,
call this a one-off.
yeah, I think they were on their way up, and this is one of those dips, and then they'll climb back up again, and it'll get
Yeah.
better and better. I firmly believe that. So don't be discouraged. Go to a Hyrox. They are good events. This was anomaly,
Hmm.
and it just happened to hit a lot of my buttons,
Hmm.
a lot of my trigger points. So
Well, and maybe because they're so focused on the world champs this weekend coming up, that we maybe didn't have the like the manpower in New York as far as people that normally run certain things and get the
uh,
judges in order. I don't know. Maybe we didn't have the staff in New York because they're getting ready for Nice this weekend.
yes, and again, as always, for those of you who say, "Well, don't bitch if you're not going to do anything about it," I have stepped up and I have said for come Toronto, I will even boycott my doubles race if they want me to, or not boycott, abandon my doubles race if
Mhm.
they want me to help out with judging, and I will gladly do so. So I will gladly put my money where my mouth is. So yeah, yeah, it is what it is. All right. I'm sorry you missed out.
I thought another good.
Oh, we got another good. We got another good. What's that?
Yes, they did think to put tents over the rowers. Over
Yes.
there for
Sorry, there was one spot of shade over the rowers. They had tents over all the rowers. I was good.
Mhm.
Made some slow row times because nobody wanted to leave.
Just hang up there.
Just gonna stay here for a while. I'm gonna row a 4 minute 500 here.
Cool off.
Yeah, yeah. So, all right. Where do you want to hit next?
Well, we'll
I
stay
think
on
that's it.
Hyrox, I think,
Okay.
this weekend. Although I think we know all the names that are going, but this weekend is the Hyrox World Championships.
I
And
am very excited.
this is the race of like the biggest race in Hyrox has existed, I think. Maybe for a World Championships, the most hype around it, the biggest lead up to it. We have so many people who are potential podium finishers, potential winners, and I think this is definitely going to be the race of the year in hybrid racing.
It is both races have, I mean, the men's have a definitive favorite. The women's have a two-woman battle that you could, argue who's a favorite for that. But realistically, there are so many people, like in the men's, there's a lot of guys there that could win, and you would like, okay, yeah, I'm I
Like,
see it. I see it.
yeah, like the top 10 could go anyway,
Yeah,
really, realistically. We have one name, I think that if he's not in the top three, we'll all eat our hats.
yeah.
Um, but outside of that, it's any man's race. Like we're talking 2 minutes, so between them all.
Oh, it and the amount of strategy that is going to be played in that men's race, and that will become important, and the mind games to go
Mhm.
along with the incredible athleticism will be so critical.
Even
Like,
the mind games that are already being played, like we haven't seen Hunter racing these guys this season, so he's kind of been doing his own thing. So that's, I'm sure, all part of the play also.
yeah, like what did he did two singles races this year? So he did like the one where he qualified in was Stockholm, I believe. And
Yeah,
then he did the one in LA recently where he did win by like seconds over Lucas, right? But didn't race side by side with him. He raced in like the fourth
right.
wave, or whatever, as he was not part of the LCQ kind
Yeah.
of thing.
hmm
So there's that. And other than that, he ran doubles.
hmm
So like you say, there's some mind games going there. There's
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't seen much from Dylan lately. Like Dylan went out, did his DC and lit the world on fire, and then just kind of,
Well, but Dylan's been very open about an Achilles issue that he's dealing with, which it makes me wonder why. And I think Dylan is just an open book, so he is what he is about that. But I question why he would let his competitors know that he's dealing with an injury.
or
Because
is
a
it a
lot
mind game?
or is it? Yes. Maybe. I'm a bit surprised he's being, and I think Dylan also likes to share all sides of being an athlete at this level. And, we're not all not struggling with something. And he is being honest about, he's kind of battling through this. This will probably be a race, and then I'll have to take some serious time off to let this thing heal. If it so I think he likes to show the real side of being an elite athlete at the top of his game also. But yeah, so we do have Dylan who's kind of been dealing with an Achilles issue. We have Michael Sandbach who dropped out of his last race very recently with some cramping issues, says he's turning things around, but has also been making interesting posts again about running these personal bests in 5K, personal bests in his simulations. And again, I'm questioning, why are you doing this? Like, why are you being so open about these things, like right before the biggest race of the year? Like, and I don't understand people's mind games about things. Like, I feel like personally, I would shut off social media and like not show my cards about how I'm feeling, how I'm doing, where the shape that I'm in. And I find that so interesting.
you look at there's different strategies because you think like Alex Ronkovich, who's just kind of doing what he always does,
Yeah,
right? There's no big,
quiet.
no big
Yeah.
bluster, no big this, no big that,
Hmm.
and it just that different approach. I'll ask you this one straight out. What's your thoughts about Ryan Kent going into this? Because I've heard some people kind of being like, okay, this just isn't his year.
I don't think it's not his year. I mean, his father passing away was a very big emotional hit. And I think to be able to go to the well and really perform when you're dealing with that type of emotional situation, you can't just always pull it out when this is such a difficult race and it's so long to maintain your super focused. So I don't think it's not his year. I think he's gone through a major life stressor this year. And I think when it counts, I think he knows, he'll run it for his dad, and it's been a bit more time now where it's not so raw. So I don't think it's not Ryan Kent's year. I think, it was just he went through some stuff.
So I listened to him and he was on him and Rich Ryan on their RMR podcast today, and he said his mind is just in a different place where it it's not that he doesn't want it as much, but he's of the point in his life where he realizes it's not going to change his life.
Hmm.
And my question to you is, as a higher end athlete, is that a bad thing to happen to your mindset, or is that just almost a relief that you're not putting so much pressure on yourself?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I think there is good in taking some of the weight of a podium off of yourself, because when you put that much stress on a result, we don't run with as much freedom and joy.
Mhm.
And I know personally when you can just, take in the joy and the gratitude of being there and being capable. And sometimes you run more free and less uptight and stressed just because your mindset is different and you've detached yourself from the outcome and you just enjoy the whole experience. And sometimes people have phenomenal races when they can shift their mindset in that direction. So if he takes it that way, then I don't think there's bad in that at all. As long as as long as he's not in the mindset of like, oh, well, it doesn't really matter,
No, he did not seem to
and I'm not
portray.
going to suffer as much. And I don't think that that's the way he's going. I think it's a shift that happens sometimes in life where we start to put things into perspective
Yeah.
and what really matters. And I think that's all it is for him too. So I think we'll probably just see a more grateful Ryan Kent, and he might smile a couple more times on the course and have fun with it. We saw this recently where he was kind of getting the crowd into it and just like really enjoying the experience of racing, which I think that's a great thing.
Well, I know from personal experience that when you lose somebody like that, and then it comes to competing in any form, it can be the anchor that drags you down, or it can be the wings that lift you up. And I've said that to Ryan, and as a fan of his, I hope that he is able to use it as the wings that lift him up, and he has a great day. Because I think he's a great guy, and I think in the beginning of the year, he was a guy that we said is one of the people that could take Hunter down, that one of the people that could potentially beat Hunter, and I still believe he can be that guy.
I do too. Yeah.
So hopefully, who I mean, you mentioned Sandy. Do we want to even put the odds on like if I was to tell you, here it is, okay, there's 8 workout stations in Hyrox. Does he finish more or less than 7?
Oh man. Oh, I hate betting on these. Oh, this is just. However, I think he had it's Samak has dropped out of races in situations that I can't even fathom that someone could drop out of. Like he's dropped out of the race in wall balls.
In
He's
second place.
Yeah, he's dropped out of races where he's winning without much competition. Early on, he's dropped out of races where there's been a significant travel commitment. It's he's dropped out of a lot of races
Dropped out of
for
races before they started.
yeah, I mean, as a betting man, it's hard for me to bet on him not. He just seems like he and again, if you ever happen to be listening, Sandbach, use this for fuel, but it seems like when things are not going perfectly, he will step off the course. And I've grown up racing some people like this, and unfortunately, I would never bet money on them because if things don't feel perfect, they just step off. And it feels like that's where he is in his racing life right now.
I was on another podcast, the fitness racing podcast or UKHXR, whatever you want to call it, and we did a draft and we talked about Sandy. And I think I gave Sandy enough locker room chalkboard material that he he probably will never be a guest on the show. Which I did say this then, and I say it now. I think he's a great guy, and I really like him.
We've met him and we've chatted, and he is a good guy. It's
Yeah,
just like the racing mindset. I think he would do so well to sit down with a sports psychologist
and
and try to figure out why are we continually self-sabotaging.
he's a freaking amazing athlete, like
Mhm.
unbelievably good.
Yeah, yeah.
I just, and again, another. I hope he pulls it together. I don't want to see him drop out. I want to see him fight.
No.
I want to
Mhm.
see him battle at the top of his game against the best there is. I want that's one thing I want for everybody at this race. I want their best. I want to see the best race the best at their best. I
Mhm.
know that's a lot of bests in one sentence, but that's what
Yeah.
I want. Um,
I want to see like seven men at wobbles together.
at least.
Yeah.
And like four of them battling for the win,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And like another dramatic comeback where the guy's in fifth and somehow goes unbroken and runs up to second or third, like just
Yeah.
crazy shit like that. That's
Mhm.
that's what and you know what? I think we're gonna get some of that. I really do.
Mhm.
Um, Another good name from the guys that I think could require some talking. James Kelly. So
Mhm.
James Kelly kind of went from being a guy who was like, he's in the running, and then all of a sudden punched his ticket and with authority.
Yeah.
Has he upped his level or was that a one-off?
Well, just kind of following him a little bit, it seems like he has upped his level.
I think so.
I think he has also taken his coaching situation. He's now coached by Lauren Weeks and Anthony, and I think he's been from just what I can see from the outside looking in, completely just and based on social media, it seems like he's definitely been taking it to the next level and really giving himself um, the best chance possible to do as best he can at this world championship.
Yeah, I think so too. Um, I mentioned him briefly. Does Alex Ronkovich? I don't know why I've always sudden just decided to struggle with that name.
Mhm.
Um, could he lift the monkey off his back? And I say monkey off the back. The guy like podiums every world championship.
Yeah.
Does he get his win this time? Or can he get his win?
Yeah, I mean he definitely can. Again, it's really any man's race. I know we talk a lot about how, it's Hunter's race to lose, but at the same time, there's a lot of these men who are totally capable. And Hunter just he's not raced a lot. I know his training will be super dialed in, but Ronkovich is also looking super strong. So his qualifying time might be a little bit slower, but courses are so different. We can't even go by that.
I think that like the potential for where Hunter could falter, or what I think has to happen for Hunter to falter, is for one or more people to go out with him and to push him because he likes to lead. So they need to push him to the point where he's coming off that sled pull not in first. And if that's the case, that can essentially cause the train wreck of events where somebody like Alex, who's not going to get drawn into that, who's going to run the race that he runs, can capitalize.
Hmm.
And that's a situation where I could see Alex winning.
Yeah.
But that's also the same situation where I could see winning.
Well, I mean, if Dylan's in there, we know Dylan is so strong in the second half of this race.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So if he's in the mix at that point, he can close. So that's good.
Mm.
Okay, so some of the women, I guess we'll start with the big question. Of the two
Don't
Titans,
make me pick. Don't make me pick.
gotta pick the one of the two Titans. You
No.
gotta do it. You can even flip a coin if you like, but you gotta pick.
Well, I'm picking Lauren, but um and because of her last two races head to head with Meg,
Mhm.
where she did commandingly win. Um and that would be the biggest reason why also Lauren is close and near and dear to my heart. She coaches me. Um but I mean, if either one of these women win, no one's going to
No,
be shocked. And I mean, I think if we put bets on it, it's pretty much a 50-50 coin flip, too. Lauren has just beat Meg head to head the last two races that they've met up. And it wasn't really close. So, with that in mind, Lauren might be more 60-40.
I as well picked Lauren, although it would be funny because I did pick Lauren on another podcast. So if I went on this one and picked Meg, I think that would be hilarious. But no, but I do pick Lauren, but on essentially with the with the added, if she makes one mistake, that's too many, and Meg will capitalize. So I think that it literally will come down to whoever wins will have to be flawless. And then by that adage, whoever makes a mistake cannot win. I just think that's how close they are. So
Yeah, and so dialed in.
mhm.
Do we know, is Michaela Norman going?
To the best of my knowledge, she still is. Now we were on I just recorded live with Matt and them, and someone said in the comments that she's not, but that's unsubstantiated. We don't have any backing to that. So right now I'm under the understanding she is.
So all that we know is Doha, which was a couple weeks ago,
Mhm.
she was not cleared to fly
Mhm.
due to some medical issues. So that was the last that we heard from Michaela Norman.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And she's obviously not at her peak if she's not being cleared to fly a few weeks ago. So yeah, Michaela is definitely a mystery, and we'll just have to wait and see and see what she has. Um, does Vivian come anywhere other than fourth?
Oh gosh, I would love her to be third.
I'm calling Vivian third. I'm putting her in there.
Let's put her in there.
She's getting
Vivian
him.
is always in these situations. She's such a good fourth. Yeah, I mean, we have Vivian and there's just so Linda Meyer, who's always right in there too. And
Linda Meyer's
Viola,
fantastic.
yeah. And Viola's been around since we had that Elite 12 during COVID and has always been focused on Hyrox. So yeah, it'll be a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see those three very much battling for that third spot. Yeah,
Yeah.
very exciting. Uh Amy Bevilacqua.
Hmm.
How do you think Amy does?
Oh, Amy. I love watching Amy. It's just so inspiring. I think, I think for Amy to go, like she's ranked 10th going in just on times. Times don't mean much. But yeah, I think for her to go top 10 would be good for her.
Yeah, I think so too. And I don't think it's a stretch by any means either. I think she's fantastic. I think she has a great running, and every time her stations seem to get better, especially her wall balls. There was a big improvement on those last race. So
Yeah.
she's really gonna do well. And I think she's someone who, no matter what happens, she's going to come out of there happy. And as long as she's able to put forth a hard effort, she'll be very pleased. And as she should be. What about our own Maria Fetchik? How's Maria?
Yeah, Maria is on the up and up as far as her her game is considered here. So I mean, I would love to see Maria get into that, sixth, seventh place. She's really obviously based on her qualifying race, her wall balls are no longer a weakness of hers.
Mhm.
And I have a feeling that she's going to do those wall balls 100 unbroken this time. So
Yeah.
I think, and again, that's now her, well, yeah, that's one of her strengths based on her last race. So yeah, I think it's going to be her race of her year.
And I think Maria is seated like 13th or through 15 somewhere in there. I say she's in the top 10.
She's 14th, so
14th. Yes, I'm saying Maria's in the top 10. And am I picking with my heart? Possibly, but screw you. I don't care.
100% we are picking
100%. And I
our,
will
our
continue,
Canadian hearts.
I'll continue to do so. So
Yeah.
deal with it. Um, I want to talk a little bit about the relay. It's very jacked about the relay. And we had everybody on for Team Canada and so excited to see them run. But I want you to do, and I'll do mine relay picks. And so here it is, and I'll throw it out there. So I'll do mine first, and I think that then you can come with me here because and you can change if you want. But I'm gonna pick the States to win.
It's a tough call.
It's a tough call. I'm gonna put Canada in second, and again, you can accuse me of Homer. That's fine. So then it comes down to the third pick, and that's tougher. But I'm gonna go with Germany on the strength of their women with Viola and Linda.
Hmm.
And very, very strong women. So I think that can make a big difference. So that's mine. USA, Canada, Germany.
Yeah, I would have picked the same.
I knew you were going to. That's why I let you off, though. You know who else I really considered, though, was France
Yeah,
with Joffrey Voisine and Jezebel Kramer. That's a strong, strong team to have there.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, and I know Australia's got a good team too. So it's going to be a great race, and it like we said on that episode, it's going to steal the show.
Hmm.
And they're going to show it all and we can actually watch it. I'm like in the
How
mode. What's
how
that?
fast do you think that it will be won in?
Sub 50.
Oh, absolutely, sub 50.
Sub 50. Sub 50. I'm going to guess 47-51.
I was gonna say 45.
45. I think that might be a bit quick, but it's possible. It's possible.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna be so fast.
And I'm at the point with this event where I'm like I almost like want to have like a Super Bowl party. Like I want to like just everybody come over. We're gonna just watch this. It's gonna be amazing. It's like, oh, it's
Oh
very
yeah.
exciting. So that's how excited I am about this. Is I would it just I think it's gonna be far and away the hybrid event of the year, and it's gonna make up for anything that happened in New York.
Yeah, I agree.
New York
Yeah.
will be washed from my mind after this weekend,
Yeah.
and it'll all be how amazing the world's was. And
Hmm.
full steam on to Toronto.
Yeah, I agree. Toronto
Oh
and Chicago,
God,
which is
no.
already 75% sold out.
Yes. Yeah. Riley just said, watch the power on the rowers go out again. Like,
No, that won't happen.
yeah,
It's not
yeah.
gonna happen.
But and what a good thing that they got out of the way at another event and not have that happen at World. So could you imagine? Oh God.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Chicago's 75% sold out. So if you're interested in going to there, jump on it quickly. And we do know that Chicago, it is at the Navy Pier again, isn't it?
Yeah, I would assume so.
Which is an absolutely fantastic venue.
Yeah.
Great hotels around. If you stay at the Sable, you're literally out of the elevator and into the venue.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Chicago was a great venue and great parking right there. It's good parking. Very
Lots of
important.
parking.
Lots
Yeah.
of parking, lots of good food right in the venue. I mean, oh, that was a great spot. I was
Yeah.
kind of decided not to go, and now I'm just talking myself into it. I'm like, oh, this is really sounding good, actually. What's that? Yeah. Granted, it's a bit of a pricey one. It's not a cheap one, but I don't think any of the Hyrox are cheap anymore. They're just in those
No,
areas, right?
exactly.
But
Yeah.
oh yeah. Well, I know when we went, we had an absolute blast. One
Yeah.
of one of my favorite races of all time. So Oh yeah, if you're interested in Chicago, go. If you're interested in Toronto, all I can tell you is that there is a wait list that you can sign up for. So if spots open up, maybe you get a call.
And I would say go on the wait list. I've already
Oh
had,
yeah.
we're so far out from the event now. I've already had a client who their friend booked their wedding that day, and I told them to skip the wedding, but they said no. But we're so far out that stuff happens.
Modern statistics say that that person will have another wedding, so you can go to that other one. It's true.
It
Uh,
is true.
sure. Yeah, so yeah, go on Hyrox and sign up on the wait list,
Yeah.
and hopefully you can get a spot. Because like you say, things happen. People will drop out for sure.
Hmm.
Sadly for injuries and other people to go to stupid weddings. So
Right.
yeah, you can. It's definitely worth it to sign up on them. And of course we have the half Hyrox in August as well, so you can get your fill of half rocks, which I still think needs to be a full thing. Love the half rocks. And we'll be there. I'll be there for that for sure. What else do we have? I think we might have to we might we might have to move semifinals to next week because like that's a lot to unpack too.
It is.
We
And
have
I watched a lot of it.
yeah. So let's give them their due because there's a lot of great Canadian people there I want to talk about and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think what I think we're good. I think we're all right, or do you think we need a little more tonight?
I, yeah, I think we're good. Yeah.
I think I've vented enough. I've
Did you get
complained.
a lot there?
I've whined enough.
Hmm.
No, I've sealed my fate with Hyrox. That said, I have applied to be a head judge for Hyrox Toronto, so I'm trying. I'm trying. I want to be part of the solution, not just a bitcher and moaner.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're taking the right stance in that way.
Yeah, and I'm ready to do my part, whatever it is. If they
Hmm.
just need a judge or a water boy or whatever, I'll do what I need to do.
Hmm.
They'll
Yeah.
probably have me scrubbing the toilets because of what I've been saying. So if that's what we got to do. That's what we got to do.
If it helps create a great event,
I will
Dave will do
scrub
it.
the toilets. Awesome. All right, take us out of here, Beth.
Yeah, thanks so much everyone for listening. If you're at Hyrox New York, we hope you had the best experience that you could. All the best to everyone racing this weekend at the World Championships for Hyrox. It will be the hybrid race of the year, so be glued to your screens, and we will talk to you very soon. And we will recap all of these things that have happened this weekend.
Take care.